we had a couple of stories today kind of appear kind of around music. Let's start off, first of all, with Apple Music, off to a good start. More than 10 million paid subscribers to that service in over 100 countries. This according to a source to the Financial Times. And I mean, that's a pretty big number in a short amount of time, right? Apple Music launched in June, had 6.5 million paid and 8.5 million free in October. Basically, it took Apple 6 months to reach 10 million. It took Spotify 6 years. Now, mind you, Spotify has been around, obviously, since, I guess, the days when streaming your music was a lot stranger. You know, there was still this weird thing we did, like wanting to own things 6 years ago, wanting to own and buy digital albums and have them be our possession as opposed to paying for access to them. So the market has definitely changed, and Spotify is a huge reason for that. But I don't know, are we impressed with the Apple Music numbers here?
I wonder if it's if people know they're paying for it. I know there's probably a certain amount of people that have signed up for the 3 month, and then Apple has their credit card and they're not even sure. But yeah, it's interesting. 25 million Spotify users. Leo and I were talking about this earlier, and we couldn't come up with that number. But yeah, and I totally agree with you that Spotify was there when people weren't even really sure what streaming was. And now I think some people are like, okay, I understand Spotify, and Apple Music is right here on my phone. I had 3 months. I just might as well keep using it.
I actually was about to say the exact same thing, because they had the free trial. You can sign up and you get to check it out for free. And I'm curious how many people just forgot to unsubscribe or even realize that they were still paying for it to begin with. I think that that Apple Music, to me personally, it's doing a little bit to differentiate itself from other services. I mean, obviously you have different artists that are going exclusively on Apple Music, either before these other streaming services or entirely on Apple Music. But at the same time, I think that that because they have that, they had all that hype and then the free signups, I think that we still might be in that time of people getting excited on the hype train and potentially forgetting that they signed up for it and will continue to pay for it.
Right. Now, related to this, according to Nielsen's year-end music report, streaming continued to grow strongly, 317 billion streams. That's double 2014, which was 164.5 billion. So obviously a huge year for the world of just streaming your tunes and not owning them. Album sales are down 6%, though they were down 11% the year before. So this is a better, like a lesser amount of a decline than it was a year before, yet streams are double. My brain is kind of exploding a little bit to try and kind of process all of that. But I wonder why that is. Like, why would there be a difference? Like that there would be more, twice as many streaming now, but yet ownership isn't quite falling off like even more rapidly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. And I don't think anyone else really knows. I mean, this is another statistic. You have vinyl is up 30%.
I know.
Who would know that? Like, who would expect that?
Vinyl sales have grown for 10 straight years. It was 0.9 million in 2005. I just got to pop up here. 1 second. It is now 11.9 million in 2015. Vinyl's kind of got this thing going right now. Yeah.
How do you listen to music, Selena? Is it all vinyl all the time at your house?
No. I definitely have Spotify. I'm actually one of those folks, I pay for Spotify, and I love the Spotify Discover, and I just listen to things that my friends suggest me. So if anyone has good music suggestions, feel free to send them my way.
I have some good music suggestions. It's kind of a sad suggestion, but we would be remiss if we talked about music today and didn't pay tribute to David Bowie, who passed away over the weekend after an 18-month battle with cancer. As you can expect, people have been streaming David's catalog online. Spotify is noting a 2,700% spike in his streams since the news hit last night. And David Bowie, I mean, you can take his incredible history of music and obviously you have to respect just the power and force that he has been in the music industry. He's also a visionary. There's a 2002 New York Times article, and it's interesting to kind of get his take on the vision of future of music. He said back then, this is 2002, he said, the absolute transformation of everything that we ever thought about music will take place within 10 years. Nothing's going to be able to stop it. He goes on to say, music itself is going to become like running water or electricity. You better be prepared for doing a lot of touring because that's really the only unique situation that's going to be left. And basically just kind of said that authorship, intellectual property, all these kind of things, making money off of selling an album outright up at the top for ridiculous amounts of money, which is the way it was 10 years ago, is going away in favor of kind of what we have now. So I don't know. He's a super smart guy, amazing music. He actually just released, have you heard his new album?
No. Not yet, but I can because I have Apple Music.
You can, exactly. It's streaming on all the services. Interesting facts about this. It's called Black Star. It released on his birthday, his 69th birthday, which was last Friday, January 8th. His producer, Tony Visconti, basically confirmed that this is the project they've been working on for the past year, knowing that David Bowie was going to pass away sometime within the next year and timing the release with it. And you listen to the album and you listen to some of the words, and I mean, it's like in a crazy, strange, but only way that David Bowie could do it and have it not be odd, but instead fascinating. It all relates with itself in really interesting ways. I highly recommend checking it out, even if you don't like his music, just for the fact that it exists the way that it does. Very interesting stuff. Anyways, hey, David Bowie fan? Selena? No?
I am. I actually know Labyrinth was transformative.
Oh, Labyrinth was so great.
Yeah, I really loved it. And I mean, my mom used to listen to David Bowie all the time. Yeah. So I have heard his new album, and the music video for Lazarus is just really, it's really heavy.
Yeah,
I mean,
poignant.
I think, yeah. And I think when the news broke yesterday, there were just so many people on Twitter and on the internet who really came together and were sharing stories about how David Bowie impacted their lives. And it was really tremendous to see how this icon touched so many lives and how many people were impacted. So yes, his album is absolutely worth a listen.
Yeah, it's interesting when something like this happens to see what happens in social network. I feel like that's like one of the better aspects of social networks, right? Where you have all of these people who probably don't know each other really coming together with this like united voice to kind of share all the great things. Because all you saw last night was like, here's a quote from this thing and it's amazing. Here's my favorite track. It's from this album. Here's the scene from this movie that he was in. And it was just like this amazing kind of combination. You saw this when Steve Jobs passed away. You saw, all these kind of marked moments where everyone on social networks kind of puts down the troll train for a little bit and just kind of comes together and does something cool like this.
I mean, it really is. You're exactly right. It is the high point of social media because, it's like that's how you deal with grief. You're like, oh, I loved David Bowie. You loved David Bowie. Like, and you're like this community instantly of people who loved someone who is now gone. So.